Biggest challenge becomes only justifying the movie that you're trying to make with the people involved in this. Censorship will affect those who are not willing to fight. Censorship will affect those who are not willing to stand up for the film, and also those who are opportunists who are trying to do something just to get sensation. See, we have always been a society that gets easily offended. Movies come at a cost, at a price, actual price paid by somebody else. As long as I'm the one bearing the cost, I'm okay.
Hi Anurag, welcome to the Quint.
Thank you, Swati.
When you started off, did you ever think you will be considered as one of the game changers of the industry?
I didn't think that I would be here 30 years later. I'll complete and I'm still like have so many things to do, and no. I don't think I had ever thought so far.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to do this and I wanted to be part of it.
Right. But was it always the agenda that I want to be a part of the film industry?
Once I realized that I want to be part of movie making,
Right.
and I just wanted to be part of the filmmaking, the whole world of it. Everything else came one after the other or via each other over a period of time. Because the Bombay was part of wanting to be part of movie making. So, because I wanted to be part of movie making, in my head it was like I have to go to Bombay. So I came to Bombay. I did theatre. I did everything related to movies.
Right. So initially, what brought about this change? Because from what I understand, you were studying science?
Yeah.
Yes. So what brought about this change about wanting to get into this industry?
It was the gap year in the sense where I started doing theatre, I started discovering movies, and then the film festival that happened, which via the theatre group I was part of, a man who played a larger role in this was a man called Sunit Sinha, who runs this theatre group called Actor Factor in Delhi. So he was my connection to the theatre. He introduced me to theatre, he introduced me to cinema. And then they made a list of movies for people to watch, and I discovered films in such a much larger way. I was like, this is what I want to do. It was very clear. And then the struggle started.
So what were those days like for you in the city?
They were very exciting, and that was an adventure. Ran out of money and had no money. Every day was an adventure to figure out your food and shelter. There were days I would sneak into Xavier's and into Imtiaz Ali's room. He was studying there and would have a bed for the night. There were days I couldn't sneak in there, and I would figure out someplace else. And sometimes be on the street, sometimes be at Prithvi. It was a very honest hustling. And one thing I was very clear about was I did not want a job.
Some of the biggest challenges that you faced in these 30 years as a film director, as someone from the industry?
Our biggest challenge becomes only justifying the movie that you're trying to make with the people involved in this. Because movie making is always on somebody else's money. So for me, it's like the bigger budgets were like very scary, and that's when I would be like. So I prefer to do things when everybody believes in it.
I guess the involvement needs to be at par, otherwise
At par.
someone's lacking behind and it suffers.
I cannot make a film. I know then I will ruin it. And I like to work backwards in the sense that if I'm making my film, I want to make sure everyone involved is safe. Because ho chuka hai wo.
If I'm not mistaken again, please correct me, wasn't Satya one of your first projects that eventually saw the day of light as a screenplay writer?
Satya.
Right?
Satya, the first one that saw, but first film I wrote was Jayate for Hansal Mehta. Yes. Before that was Auto Narayan, which never came out. Yeah, but Satya was the first,
Yeah. So if I had to ask you, how did Satya the film influence you as a person, as your first film that was actually
It was my film
out there?
school. It was my film school. I was so fortunate to work with RGV at his best phase, at his most secure, at his more courageous, because after making Rangila and after making Daud, he just wanted to make a film with all newcomers. All assistants were first-timers. Everybody, he just took chances like nobody else. 3 years I spent on the film, starting as a writer, then being an assistant, casting director. And there was no such thing as a casting. There's no definition of a casting director. We were just finding actors. Like literally finding actors and putting them in the film, or making him meet them, and then he would pick somebody for reasons that only he knew. Khalid Mohammed recommended a guy to him, Sabir, who's the long-haired guy. He just liked his look. He brought an actor from Hyderabad. So I'm seeing this whole way of putting it together. Chakravarti came from Hyderabad, one character from there, somebody from there, and literally a film about Mumbai, which did not have a single local Mumbai Marathi speaking actor. Working on it to make them believe. The next film that I did, Shul, also had all Marathi speaking actors playing the villain in a Bihari film. So I'm saying, realize it's make believe. But you have to work very hard to make people believe. One film I learned everything from writing, editing, sound design, post-production. It was my total film school of 3 years.
So, if I talk about representation in film industries when it comes to communities, etc., do you think as an industry we have evolved where we now don't stereotype? Like you said in Satya, we didn't take just Maharashtrians playing, Marathi people in the film. Do you think as an industry we've evolved to a point where we now don't stereotype communities in our films when it comes to either playing an antagonist, especially?
No, and there's a lot that happening in the sense. We have also come to that place. We have also not reached that place. I also have, in the sense, I have conflicting emotions. There's a film where the transgender character was not played by a transgender, right? And everybody was very woke. It happened during Sacred Games as well, right? We didn't go casting for people. The ones we found didn't want to come out as transgenders. They said, we've gone through a lot. The one woman who said, I've gone through a lot to people see me as a she. So I don't want to be what you want me to be in the film. It's totally understood. You respect that. And then others, they're not any good enough actor. Because what kind of a representation are we talking about? I'm saying what's on screen that I believe, because cinema is eventually make believe. I'm saying we don't really murder people when they're showing death scenes. Right? People don't really jump off a cliff like that. If that is the representation we are talking about, that we honestly represent something by letting them do something, then we'll end up killing people. Right? The thing is, what's on screen, is that good enough for you, representation for you? Right. If we are focused on that, then we should not get into other things. But there's also my own friends and filmmakers who have massive conflict with that. They'll do exactly that.
If you had to talk about the current scenario in the industry, we sometimes have such polarized opinions around us that people will either call for a ban on a film, and sometimes they're so baseless that you're thinking, what is the reason for that? So much so that the leader of the country now has to say, can we refrain from making opinions about the industry? Do you think something like this is enough, or do you think that there needs to be more done about this, or we as a society need to kind of wake up and say this is not okay?
We have always been a society that gets easily offended. The thing is, there's a process in place. Once the film is cleared by the censors, then it becomes the state's responsibility to impose law and order. Right? Nobody can wash their hands off saying that, but somebody felt bad about it. Now, if somebody felt bad about it, that person needs to be talked to and explained things to. Right? But does not exist in our country. That's always been a problem. And I've been quite cynical about the head of the country making that statement, saying it's too late in time, but things have stopped. I think it's gone down. So that definitely has had an impact. Yeah. And a lot remains to be seen tomorrow, because my theory is that people have, post-COVID, people will think a lot before spending their money.
I totally agree.
So they will either watch a film that they have been waiting for, which becomes a Brahmastra, which becomes a Pathan, which becomes a sequel like KGF 2 or a Rajamouli film, right? Or they will go and spend money on a film that they're absolutely sure that everybody's talking good things about.
Sometimes, of course, we can't be an industry that does not have censorship, right? Because, like you said, that needs to happen. But do you think sometimes it's so much that also kind of hinders the way a director may want to tell a story?
It's okay in the sense, I have seen such good films coming from places which have 10 times more censorship. Right. I am totally against any kind of a censorship, but I also know how to fight it because I know my rights. Yeah. because I have invested time in reading the Cinematograph Act. I've done all those things. When I tell people that this is the way to fight sin, they don't want to waste time. They don't give their film enough time. They go to censor board at the last moment. Right? So they don't have enough time if there's a thing to fight it out. They don't take it seriously, and then they just want to put it out there, and they will very easily cut it out. So they don't love their film enough. So they're not invested in it. So censorship will affect those who are not willing to fight. Censorship will affect those who are not willing to stand up for the film, and also those who are opportunists who are trying to do something just to get sensation.
I feel you're somebody who has so much to say about so many things, so well read, etc. And then you're also a public figure. Sometimes when you have to give an opinion, and you were somebody who used to go out there, speak about what you wanted to, and then we see that there's been a restraint from your end.
Yeah, absolutely, because I was shouting. Because comes a time when you realize I'm shouting in a room where everybody's shouting. That's what social media is. Everybody's shouting. If you read anybody, they are seeking self-validation all the time, and nobody's talking to each other, but everybody's stating their opinion.
There's no conversation.
There's no conversation. Everyone is stating their opinion. That's when I realized, nobody's hearing me, so why am I wasting my time and energy? And you step back. And I want to do it constructively because, in the sense, if I have to say something, I'll say in an interview that people will see. And when they see the interview, they will also see the intention behind it because they also see the long form discussion of it. Why am I saying it? Taken out of context, it becomes just a headline.
Did you find it, sorry, but did you find it difficult to kind of differentiate from Anurag Kashyap, the filmmaker, and Anurag Kashyap, the person who had opinions, as someone who lives in the society?
No, I think they're both the same people. I think they're both the same people. As a filmmaker, I try to find ways to say it, things that affect me in my movies, because movies come at a cost, at a price, actual price paid by somebody else. What I say personally in an interview comes at a personal consequence and personal cost.
Absolutely.
So,
as far as no one else in the process is getting
as long as someone else is not have to bear the consequences, I'm fine with it. But the consequences sometimes becomes everybody else's. That's when the problems happen to me. Otherwise, I don't have a problem with anything.
Anurag, there's always been a chatter about people from the industry, people not from the industry. And I think you're one of the finest examples when we talk about someone who came to the city without any backing, and you're sitting here. What would you like to tell some of the people who are trying to make it in this industry, whether they're actors, writers, directors, who are coming?
There's no better time. I'm saying, literally, I was having a discussion with somebody from an OTT platform the other day, and they're talking about how it's all the outsiders who the Indian audience click for. From Radhika Apte to Pankaj Tripathi to Huma Qureshi to Nawazuddin Siddiqui to Vineet Kumar Singh to Rajkumar Rao to... He says they're all outsiders.
Such great actors.
They're all
fine
outsiders.
Actors.
I'm saying one of the most successful mainstream star at the moment is also an outsider, Kartik Aaryan. Yeah. So I don't think this is as good as time as any, and this is actually the best time because there's plenty happening.
Oh yeah, especially with the OTT platforms.
And I think people who complain about it are the people who actually don't want to do the hard work of, one, making the effort to come to the place of work. Everybody sitting in the small towns and saying that, but they dream, but they do nothing about it. And I met them a lot over 30 years. Right. When I would shoot in a small town, people would throng you and say that, how can we be part of a movie? I said, first get to Bombay. But no, they won't. He said, but I have a thing here. I said, then leave it. Yeah. Then be here.
I think it's the fear that kind of stops us and controls our lives in a very large way.
And they think they're not getting opportunity. They want a security. Like, before I come to Bombay, can my role be assured? Can my job be assured? Everything be assured? Things don't work like that. So the resentment often develops for somebody. They think, oh, that person lucky. Her father was already in the movies. His father was already in the movies. So they got into the movies. I'm saying deep down they're wishing that. I wish my parents were in the movie. The thing is, their parents are not, and they don't have the courage to step out and go and do something. I get messages from random people about scripts. I have an idea, I have an idea, I have an idea. And let me go register idea, write a script. They won't write a script. Just because they think they have an idea. And then they start using the word, but you're the only one who's supporting outsider. I said, yeah, but I need everything done. I'm saying, do the hard work first.
All right. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.